Hey loves, how are you today? I'm at the garden plot. I am continuing to weed, making lots of progress. I will be ready to plant by Friday. Woohoo! So, y'all know that when I'm here, I get inspired by little life lessons, and we're doing this series right now, because the weeds were so overgrown in my garden plot. We're doing this series right now on plucking the weeds out of our life, dealing with our shit, taking a look at the deeper pieces of ourself in reference to self-care and reflection, and so that we can become more self-aware. And so the theme for this Garden Plot Chronicles has been pulling the weeds from our life and making space to really work on those hard things that we don't want to deal with and we just kind of let fester. So I wanted to show you something today. Man, some of these weeds are so tall and they have such strong roots. And so that's the lesson, the life lesson for today, is how deep our roots run. And are we watering positive, encouraging roots in our life that will blossom into self-awareness, into compassion, into love, into inclusion, into all of these wonderful things that allow us to embrace all of who we are and all of whom others are? Or are we watering the weeds, and are we giving attention to the negative thoughts and the doubts and the insecurities and the unresolved trauma and allowing those to take root in our life? So, sorry, the mosquitoes are a little out of control because I am fresh right now. So let me just show you some of these roots, right? So take a look at this. This is the tiny little part that you see above ground. That's the root that is below the surface, right? Same thing with this. This is the tiny little piece that we see above the ground. Here is the full root, right? And then this one I thought was really telling in that, well, okay, before I get to this one, let's go back and deal with those two long roots. So if we're watering thoughts, which means we are allowing the negative, we're allowing the self-doubt, we're allowing the criticism and the voice to speak in our life that is hindering us from growth, from movement, from loving, from taking honest stock of who we are and the ways that we want to grow and change. Well, some of that is from the conditioning that we receive and the projections that we receive from others and the false narratives that are placed on us by society, by culture, by family, by relatives, by all the spaces and places that we as women in particular hear projections onto us of how we should act, who we should be, how we should conduct ourselves, and those things kind of get stored and lodged, right? And then we internalize them. And based on experiences from our past and our present, we then develop loops of self-doubt and negativity, right, that play out. And so those internalized misperceptions and false narratives of who we are run really deep. They run really deep. And so it takes a bit of time and it takes a bit of effort. Excuse me, I think I just swallowed a bug. And so it takes a bit of effort to identify them and to not just clip it, because it will grow back, it will keep playing out, we will keep hearing those thoughts of self-doubt, but to really pull that root out requires time, effort, energy, thought, sometimes therapy, prayer, meditation, work. It requires, I'm not going to compete with the airplane. It requires work on our part to pull it inch by inch, little by little, and to replace it with positive affirmation, to replace it with honest work and reflection, to replace it with new patterns in our brain. So we're rewiring our thought process into who we are, and thinking of who we are. It requires work in building our confidence. And then I came across this weed. Now look at this root. Look at all those little anchor shoots coming off of that root. This is a weed that had a serious hold in the ground. Are you feeling me? Are you picking up what I'm putting down here? What kind of thoughts, cycles, loops have such a deep hold that you know it when you hear it? It's the constant doubt that niggles in your mind that prevents you from doing something, moving forward. And you know what it is. You feel it and you sense it and you know it, and it's that constant negative thought that is in your brain. Hun, love, that weed has all these anchor roots holding on to you. Make the commitment today to no longer live in that, to no longer walk in that, to no longer believe that, but to take the time to do the work of dealing with it, of sitting with it, of reflecting in it, of taking an honest assessment of where does this come from, why is it here, and then doing the work of pulling that weed out and breaking and snapping every single one of those anchor roots that has a tentacle hold on your life. Because you were made for so much more than the limited chokehold that these weeds have of placing limiting beliefs, making you feel like you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not worthy enough, you're not rich enough, you're not bold enough, you're not lovable enough. All of that is bullshit, because you are. Love, you are. As you are enough. Hear that. As you are enough. And you have a grand and great purpose on your life that only you can fulfill. And so it's time to do the work, love. It's time. Get out of my ear. It's time to invest in yourself. It's time to rip these weeds out of your life so that you can move forward whole, healed, changed, transformed, confident, and walking in your purpose.